Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mark Sham. I am the founder and CEO of Suits and Sneakers. Today I have a really cool guest in studio with me who, to be honest with you, I've been trying to pin down for the longest time, and as you go through the segment you will understand. So without further ado, I'd like to officially introduce you to Gary Jackson from Jackson's. Hello Gary.
Awesome, Mark. How's it? Thank you. Thank
Gee,
you for having me.
Sometimes you're a hard guy to get in here. I have been first and foremost an absolute fan of your work and your stores. So I always like to just start the interview with this little segment, which is for the people who have no clue who you are or what you do, who the hell is Gary Jackson and what is the value that you add to the world?
Well, I'm foremost a very humble greengrocer, and I see myself as someone trying to make people healthy and well and happy. It's as simple as that. And I do that through my food stores, which are called Jackson's Real Food Market and Eatery. And essentially, we about getting nutrients onto your plate. And once you get nutrients on your plate, you're really set. You're setting yourself up for so much more.
And I can totally attest, because the context to the scenario and how you've landed up in my studio is that I am first and foremost a fan, and I tend to try to scratch my own itch when it comes to these things. I'm a highly curious human being, and I've been coming to your stores for a really long time now. I want to share a little story with you. I'll never forget. It's actually my brother. I hope he's watching, Anthony. I remember him telling me about Jackson's, probably the one in Bryanston when you just first opened. And at the time I was like, whatever, it sounds like a hippie jaw. But I literally went through to the store and I remember really enjoying it. And then probably about 2 years ago, I started eating a few meals there, having some meetings there. And genuinely, I can say with my hand on my heart that I have loved going to your Bryanston store. It happens to now turn out to be right around the corner from my house. So it's very convenient. When I leave studio, I just stop there to grab a quick bite. And I have just been blown away by what you've done from a bunch of different reasons. First, as a small business owner, you're taking on a very interesting segment of the market. And then more specifically around the angle that you talk around with health and nutrition, I've just been blown away. So I don't normally go on this long and drone, but I just want to use this opportunity to kind of publicly say that I think that what you've done is phenomenal, and I'm a fan first. And that's why I've been dying to have you in here. So the question for me is to you, what made you start Jackson's? Just run me through the origins of how it lands up to be that you started these stores.
So it goes back a long way. It goes back to when I was 1, actually.
Okay.
And my dad and mom did a weird thing, and that was they decided to move to Japan. And they lived in Japan for my first 6 years on the planet. And in Japan, I was exposed to the most amazing food. And I'm totally addicted to colors, textures, and tastes, and smells. And so, unbeknowingly, I got this sort of awesome grounding in real food, because they eat real food, that's for sure. And so, after that, I spent a lot of time with my mom in the kitchen, like you sit here because we have no babysitter, and I'll cook. And eventually I started helping make meatballs and doing the dishes, and so I spent a lot of time in the kitchen. And my fascination from food, it just flourished from there. And so the food part's been with me. I've been in corporate, and I've always tried to move and gravitate towards food. So personally, I love food. I just love food. But I took some wrong decisions in my life in terms of my relationship with food. I ended up being totally addicted, and addicted is the right word, to fast food. I became a fast food junkie. I would follow any trend. I even went to America to go and really hunt down some cool fast food, and they got it all. And so in my student days, I carried on just fast food and tequila, because that's what fueled me. And so my lifestyle was terrible. I stopped training. I was competing at sort of almost a national level in sport. And I went through a really bleak patch of just chasing my career, wasn't sleeping properly, I wasn't exercising, and I was eating junk food. And it all came to a crunch. And I think my radiator popped, and I was ill. I just became seriously ill. Because as your metabolism slows down, so it gets worse and worse and worse. So I just started getting worse exponentially. And I then was fortunate enough to start dating a Greek girl. And they don't do fast food. In fact, it was the first time I'd met someone who had never eaten fast food. And that blew my mind. And I sort of went on a second date and a third date. And slowly, she was explaining to me the madness of what I was doing to myself. And slowly, slowly, she converted. And eventually, she said to me, listen, I'll feed you every day for 3 months. And let's see what happens. Because you're complaining a lot about your health. And that's exactly what she did. So she put me on the Mediterranean diet.
Wow.
And rather than going on medication, I ate lots of green veggies, lots of fruit, lots of good meat, but quality meat, olive oil, things that I hadn't really eaten for a long time. And I could feel it immediately. My body was just saying, at last, he's woken up. And it started absorbing nutrients. And literally, day after day, I just got better and better and better. And then I realized that, hang on a minute, there must be lots of people out there that feel as lousy as I did, but didn't even know at the time that I was feeling lousy.
Yes.
And that's a terrible place to be, when you're sick and you don't even know that you're actually sick. And that's exactly where I was. Yes. But I could break through, and there was something I could do. So obviously I hit the gym as well. I didn't go crazy. I mean, 5 minutes on the bike for the first 3 months, and then I was finished. And slowly, slowly that evolved. So it was just a destiny meeting, and I ended up marrying this girl, obviously for those reasons. I mean, she made me feel like $100. And then the frustration came in, Mark, where it was like, okay, I get it, but I'm on the move, and where do I find this food if I'm not at home and she's not cooking for me? And she is a pharmacist by profession, and so she had a busy day. And so slowly, when I got back into work again, after having to take a full year sabbatical just to get my health sorted out, I battled to find what I needed. Yes. And I really struggled.
Wow. So really, Jackson's is an anecdote for scratching your own itch, as such.
It was certainly. And you spoke about the first store. For the first 6 months, I only had 4 customers every day. It was terrible. We were petrified. We thought people thought we were crazy, whether we were hippies or whether we were just on another planet. Yes. They didn't understand all this. And you just pick up the phone and phone family and say, listen, come and sit down and make this place look full. And slowly,
yes,
we focused on educating people who walked in the door.
Yeah. Now, this conversation going to like a million different reasons. In a million different directions, but there's so many. So I have a personal story that I've shared with you off camera, but and I've documented a few times. But in short, in 2011, I had my own bad spurt with health, and I actually went on to SSRIs for a minute because I didn't understand what was going on, and which is effectively antidepressants. But I came to a point where very quickly I realized this wasn't for me. It wasn't making me actually feel better. It was making me feel worse. And I happened to solve my own problem through food, which, as I started to research, really you start to realize it's medicine. So the journey that you have been on really resonates with me. So, a few weeks ago, I started just spending more and more time, especially as we started coming out of lockdown, I started spending more and more time at Jackson's again. I'd go there, and it just turned out that every time I had a specific meal, I'd take a picture of it, and I kept posting. And then one of your ladies reached out to me and finally said, listen, Gary actually wants to have a catch up with you, and this is how we got speaking here. But something really interesting, because as you and I have been speaking, and this is really why I wanted to have you here, is that the other day you took me on a tour of your store. My God, I wish we could have 12 of you and that you could be running these tours simultaneously of Jackson's, because the things that people don't know about your store, even at face value, is the level of detail that you've gone into to just bring about the quality that you have. And I really, again, I just want to applaud you for that, because when you took me through the tour, it was like, once you see something a certain way, you can't unsee it. So, the madness in a sense that you've embarked on is you're kind of taking on these really big industries. What's the journey been like so far? Because I'm pretty sure people just walk into the stores, it's amazing, and they think, oh, this guy's, he's doing so well. And not that you say that you're not, but like, give me some of the behind the scenes view. I'd be remiss to not ask you, what is the journey of Jackson's been like since you've opened?
It's terrifying. It's terrifying because, food is sewn up by the big guys in South Africa, the big corporates, the big blue chip companies. And, they can outprice you any day of the market, and they can close you down. So we really I started off by saying this: if I could create the place I'd like to go for lunch every day, and the place I'd like to shop every day, if I stick to that, and I almost had to write that down and stick it on my wall in my office and say, just stick to your oats, stick to your oats. And I kind of did that and made sure that I didn't copy what other people were doing. And I didn't feel I had to fill any norm of what people expected. I just wanted to build something totally new. And it was hair raising because in the beginning, I didn't walk into my store once, and I still don't, ever feeling confident about my business, and I never feel that I'm where it's at. I'm always at about 60% of where I want to take this brand because it's all there. But I can only unpack it bit by bit by bit because if I go too off the wall, I may lose customers. It's pretty new, some of the stuff that we do, and it can be a bit intimidating, and this is where the education piece is critical because you can also walk into our stores and it looks all appealing, but you kind of, what do I buy, and which aisle should I shop in? So there's a lot of work that's still to be done. So we're very much in the formative years. We've only been going five years, just on 5 years.
Yes, which in the scheme of things, and I understand it because suits and sneakers is actually in the same time frame, it feels like a long time, and it's amazing how much you can do in that time, but you are absolutely still a baby. There's no question about it. So, I mean, and to your point, sometimes when you walk into a Jackson's, if you don't have the right mindset or if you're not educated, you walk into an alien store, in a sense, right? It's something that you said to me the other day that really stuck with me because you look at all these brands and they don't pop out at you the way you would if you went to a big store. You're not familiar with them. So how do you get about that, or how do you go around that with your customers? And what do you feel like the chief reason or reasons why your loyal customers have kept coming back to you?
So I had two challenges. The one was, could I compete on price and look after my suppliers and farmers? Because they were part of this, and they are integral and they're woven into our business. Our supply chain's only small guys, only small farmers, small producers. We don't have any big companies that supply us. So we needed to look after them and give you as a customer a fair price, and that you valued our quality. But more importantly, if we couldn't get the taste right, and we couldn't get you feeling like, okay, that was a lekker meal, or I feel satiated, I feel good after this meal, we were dead in the water. And we had no idea because, face it, in the 80s and 90s in South Africa, a health store meant you had to go and get cardboard biscuits, with some paste that they said was made out of maybe sesames, and it tasted shocking. So people had this stigma about health stores, and we didn't want to go the sandals and candles route, because that would freak everybody out.
Yes.
So we think eating and being healthy and having high levels of vitality is essentially a very hip thing to do, and so we wanted to do that. It's very cool to be healthy. It's very cool to look after your body, and the biggest thing was when you do this a few times, you suddenly feel more creative as a human, even if you weren't creative before. Your synapses in your brain, they start firing, and people get inspired, and people spend a lot more time in our stores than they do in a traditional thing. So the big thing was shopping can't be a chore. And going down to eat a meal, it mustn't be, I'm going to go down and grab a pie and a Coke and smash it, and then I'm full for the day. There's got to be some soul in what you do about what you eat.
What I would actually love to do is have you back here again another time to kind of expand in on this. But I guess two questions I want to ask you in quick fire succession. What are your expansion plans? Do you have any that you're allowed to tell me?
so we'd love to, one customer at a time, and we're very much in the formative years. We possibly grew a little too quickly, putting 2 stores up within 2 years. Obviously, the background in South Africa at the moment is not that investor friendly, but I'm absolutely convinced that our concept's needed. I think it's something that communities should have access to, and I think as we move on, our produce will get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and it's mainly organically grown, so the input costs are lower. So we think we could disrupt what's happening out there in the food and beverage market. So I don't have plans today, but I do have dreams for tomorrow.
Yes. Well, I just want to tell you, as I build up to the last question or point, that I say this without scam, that I'm a loyal fan of yours. Because first and foremost, I'd go to you before I go to anybody else.
Wow.
And I don't say that lightly. It's not something I put my name on easily. But the reason why I say that is because I love shopping there. I've become well known in my Instagram stories for posting a picture of your plant-based probiotic kimchi bowl, if I remember correctly. Sometimes I get the mixture of the words incorrect, but that's it. I always go there. I'm going there after this, and that has nothing to do with you. I just love your product, your offering, your brand, and so I believe fundamentally that in future we'll look at you being the norm and everybody else. Like, how did we do it another way? So not because we hate other people, just because we have to make a call back to sustainable, organic, clean, friendly. We have to think long term about these and play the longer game, and I believe you're doing that. So I really want to just congratulate you in that and just thank you. So that's your close-up camera over there. I'd love to kind of allow you to close off with maybe a parting thought that you have, and how do people get hold of you / Jackson's?
Awesome, Mark. Thanks very much. And I think the feelings that you've expressed today is exactly what we want our customers to feel. We want you guys to have that wow. And if you don't have that experience, we need to know why. But essentially, you can get better. You can make a big difference. A small tweak in your eating plan takes you to a whole different world. And at Jackson's, you can do that. You come in, we'll interact with you, we talk to you, we help you. We don't even push anything that we don't sell to you. We want you to understand your body and your health. So we're out there, Kailami, and we're in Bryanston. We're on all social media. Our website is www.jacksonsrealfoodmarket.co.za, one word. And it's worth just to pop in and come and have a look. If you do nothing else, just come and suck up that good energy in the store.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. And I guess a great parting point is that you sometimes operate at a certain level for so long that's subpar and you think it's normal. And when you get just a little bit of a taste of what it's like to run at an optimal level, once you see that, it's very hard to unsee that. I think that's a really good reason for people to visit your store. Gary, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this. Thank you for coming into studio and just giving people behind the scenes. And without question, I'll be having you back here for part 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Awesome. It's been great chatting.